I, Dr. Otto Octavius, vow as a scientist and businessman that my duties to humankind will be fulfilled. Thank you.
Yeah, nice words, Octavius. If these executives knew you the way I do, I wonder if they'd be so quick to applaud.
Checkpoint 1, where's your 20?
Just backstage. Call us.
Spider-Man?
Last time I checked, I was Spider-Man.
He's stealing Octavius's device! Oh no! He sees me! My camera! No! I blew it again! Oh, I can hear Jameson's voice already. You're through, Brock! I tried to fight it. Can't fight him anymore!
Rest easy, Brock. Venom is here. And if it's the last thing we ever do, Jameson and the insect are gonna pay.
Phase 1 completed. Let us begin Phase 2.
The year is 2000, the late summer to be more specific, when Spider-Man would swing onto the PlayStation. There had been plenty of games based on the character before, but this I consider to be the most important, both in terms of its game design and cultural impact on every comic book action game since, the one whose DNA remains on every game based on the character since, and many other games based on comic book properties, developed by Neversoft on the same engine as their Tony Hawk games, which itself was originally designed for action games like the Bruce Willis star vehicle Apocalypse. That being said, I do think that while there are so many people who contributed to making this game such an important milestone, I think one person deserves a lot of the credit in particular, and that's the lead designer, Chad Findley, who was a big fan of the character beforehand, and having left Activision in 2020, is currently a freelancer.
Activision had the license and was looking for a developer to do it. My boss knew I was a longtime Spidey fan, and he also thought it would be a good fit for the company because we were getting Tony Hawk up and running at the same time. With that being an unknown license at the time, he thought it would be good also to have a well-known license under development at the studio. The biggest hurdles going to 3D were 1. Getting web swinging to be fun and useful in an action game, and 2. Getting wall crawling to function in a similar manner. The good thing was having a running engine base with a great animation system and no spaghetti code. Still, there were a lot of difficult parts. A completely different control system, no trigger or AI systems, no fighting core, no cutscene code, no streaming or expansive areas, and of course, no swinging or wall crawling. This was super challenging to go from nothing to a shippable quality.
Music for this game is credited to Howard Ulliate, who worked on the Atari Spider-Man game back in the 80s, and Tommy Tallarico, who is himself quite an interesting character who you might have heard from his Amico crowdfunding project.
Hardcore gamers like our system too, but these elitists, they're racists. They're literally gaming racists.
The version you're seeing recorded is not the original PlayStation version though, but the Dreamcast version, not only just because that is my platform of choice, but there are significant improvements worth talking about. So, if you're looking for an authentic experience of how it was meant to be played in 2000, you might be a bit disappointed. This version of the game was developed by Treyarch, who would actually go on to make more Spider-Man games than Neversoft, and just like the devs of Neversoft would ultimately be shafted into doing nothing but Call of Duty games.
After lunch, can I whip you? Nope. Oh, no fair. Ow!
This version featuring buffed up graphics that would also be used in the PC version, in particular the improved character models. They even went to the effort of re-rendering cutscenes with the new models. It does make the PlayStation version look so much more archaic by comparison. I mean, Black Cat in the PlayStation version just looks terrible, and Daredevil kinda looks like a cat. Being a PS1 port though, you just gotta get used to character models without lip movements. Oh yeah, one last thing, I should probably talk about the Nintendo 64 version. I don't know what to say. It kind of looks like the PS1 version, but without the jittering. It's technically above the PS1, but lower than the Dreamcast graphically, and the FMV cutscenes are completely replaced with still image comic panel versions, because, this is on a cartridge now and not a CD. I mean, yeah, sure, this is a perfectly playable version too. The story of Spider-Man is incredibly simple. Clear your name by finding the imposter and stopping the evil forces of Octavius, Carnage, and Mysterio. Oh, and also there's Venom. You guys like Venom? You play as Spider-Man. Naturally, you can punch or kick, not that it makes a great amount of difference. Web swing from, God, I suppose? Swinging would be like this until Spider-Man 2 in 2004, where they actually have the novel idea of being able to code him swinging from actual buildings. Technology was still developing. I think they deserve a credit for what they were able to do. You shoot webs to either stun or fully immobilize your opponents. And that's really the summary of what you do in this game. You just go from point A to point B, punch some people, and fulfill whatever objectives you need. As for the voice acting, well, there's a lot of iconic voices in this game. And not just Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. and Jennifer Hale reprising their roles from the 90s cartoon as Doc Ock and Black Cat respectively. You also got Reno Romano reprising his role as Spider-Man from that other 90s Spider-Man cartoon, the one that no one remembers, but he is also great in this game.
Hey, you gonna pay for that tower? Uh-oh, spider sense tingling. One more step and it's a load of web fluid sticking you to that wall.
Well, it's not the most romantic proposition I've ever had.
Black Cat.
Stan Lee as the narrator is amazing, of course.
So get ready for a true superhero action thriller, packed to the brim with thrills and chills, twists and turns, more supervillains than you can shake a web at, and of course, non-stop web-slinging, wall-crawling action.
The CGI cutscenes themselves are serviceable. They feel pretty empty, but I imagine they were made with a small team, so I think they deserve a credit for what they were able to do with what they had. And the first thing you start the game is with an immersion-breaking tutorial.
Use your Spidey compass to get to the bank quickly.
How would Black Cat know what a Spidey compass was? 360-degree control in a 3D game is great. That is, until you have to make a turn in angle with the camera movement. The game is divided into 6 chapters, or issues as they're displayed. Although that doesn't mean the game is exactly long, as you can beat this in about 6 or 7 hours. That's about as long as it took me, at least. Chapter 1 is a good introduction. Save the hostages and throw the bomb in the safe room, close the safe room, done. Chapter 2 is when things get a little more risque. Gotta rush to the Daily Bugle to fight Scorpion, and Scorpion feels miscast to me. Like, they tried hard to make him sound evil.
You put me in this suit, now I'm going to make you pay!
The fight with Scorpion is a bit too simple. Just stun him with your web, rush him with 2 or 3 hits, and quickly jump back. Getting him against the wall is dangerous because you'll have no time to stun him again, and little time to back off before he retaliates. Did Scorpion just step on the Doom guy? After Scorpion, there's a frustrating part with outrunning a helicopter by scaling a building while it blows up the boarded windows, not helped by the recoil when a window too close blows up and you're stunned without enough time before you are blown away and have to start from the last checkpoint, which can be as annoying as having to dodge the sniper again. Just trial and error, really. Now that I think about it, Spidey's portrait in the corner is maybe too much like Deadpool without the lines. Honestly, the thing that I've noticed a lot from to do the helicopter chase over and over is that a lot of the music loops feel too short. I mean, the music in-game sounds good, but nothing really particularly stands out to me.
You're after the wrong guy! Moving, Spidey! Can't waste time.
Chapter 3. The Rhino fight is wearing, but just get him to run into a wall by jumping out of the way at the right time, then hit him 2 times to be safe, and jump back. It is seemingly the shortest chapter of the game because it only consists of the Rhino fight and cutscenes. Chapter 4. I lost the Venom chase 3 times, and each time I had to re-watch cutscenes from the Venom chase. A bit annoying, but oh well. I lost my iron armor upgrade after fighting Venom once and losing, so other attempts had to be with less health, because I didn't want to restart the chapter again, as you could imagine. The Venom fight is so tiring. Just had to get lucky by jump punching a lot, because he does so much damage when he hits. He doesn't recoil from hits for that long, and can drag you to him when you're not close enough. Best time to heal or grab more webbing is when he disappears. Actually easier the second time you fight, because even though you have to keep turning the water off so that Mary Jane doesn't drown, there are a lot more health and web drops. In between this, I had to teach myself that right trigger while aiming and holding down left trigger web lines me to different poles, which is essential for one part. Chapter 5. I did not care for the Mysterion fight at the end, which is largely a test of lucky aim and endurance. Have to hit all the glowing things on his suit with your large attack web, which you do with forward and Y or forward and triangle on the PlayStation at the same time. Just gotta make sure you're lined up exactly in the right direction. And when that's done, gotta do it again, but while dodging and doing the same thing to his boob lasers, and all the lower floors are electrified now, so only remain on those for a few seconds to grab any health or webbing you need before they vanish, or when Mysterio hits the floor to shock you. I even got stun locked once because of it, and I only got past his final form by luck and building up enough health and webbing beforehand. Anything less would have been a fail. Chapter 6. Final 2 chapters introduce Carnage drops as enemies, which serve as punch sponges, so you're better off avoiding them instead of fighting most of the time. All the game asks is that you keep destroying the machines, spawning them. Octavius boss fight is probably my favorite in the game. Avoid his arms, hit the panels, and then hit him while the shield is down. Carnage was easy, just gotta maneuver around and hit him into the circle to do damage, and make sure you keep your health up. Carnage's voice sounds exactly like Mysterio's, honestly, and I don't mean to point out that they're played by the same actor. I mean, it is almost exactly the same voice.
Here I come!
Then the final stage, you gotta outrun him through the tunnels before he catches you or the reactor blows. Oh no, the Berserk flashbacks. Best thing is after beating the game is I unlocked a symbiote costume and Ben Reilly. Ultimately, Neversoft Spider-Man would turn out to be a profitable success.
I can't remember for sure. I think it was a few million, which was pretty good back then.
It's not quite as popular or as polished as later games, like Spider-Man, or Spider-Man, but it still gets its attention. But it is still, I believe, a title that is fondly remembered by fans, with flaws and all. Neversoft would sadly never make a Spider-Man game as great as Spider-Man, because they would never make another Spider-Man game. They would effectively be focused on mostly Tony Hawk games before ultimately being turned into a Call of Duty support studio and then just merged in with Infinity Ward. In fact, on the very last day of Neversoft, before they closed, employees brought out the sculpture of the company's logo and burned it. Treyarch, on the other hand, still exists, if you consider being in the Call of Duty jail existing. I'm fortunate though that what we have exists, and I'm sure it made plenty of new Spider-Man fans when it came out. Obviously, it doesn't have a lot of the later quality of life improvements of later games, such as actual web swinging from buildings, improved physics, the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
This is a game that should still be commended as an evolutionary step to a greater path, where we can still trace the impact to this day.
This was easily one of my favorite games to work on. I love the material, I love the character, and his message. So to all you true believers out there, thanks for playing. I love the challenges of making a difficult game like Spider-Man, and I loved the team I worked with.
And now for some odds and ends before I go. I haven't even mentioned the secret hidden what if mode, which is effectively the same campaign but with a lot of differences in terms of world.
Some of the events unfolded differently. Some of the differences are grand, some minute. Those of you alert enough may notice some of the differences yourself.
Or the cheat code menu, which won't let you enter in naughty words. You can play as Spider-Man in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 if you get 100% on career mode, or cheat. He's also playable in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X, but not the remake of 1 and 2 featured on modern platforms. Also, to coincide with the release of the Sam Raimi 2002 Spider-Man movie, the PC version of Spider-Man was reissued as a special serial giveaway with a bunch of changes. Mainly, Spider-Man's character model now resembles the 2002 movie costume, and several billboards have been changed. Oh, and this is only half of the game on the disc, so it's a fucking ripoff. And finally, the sequels. Spider-Man got a sequel in 2001 in the form of Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro on the PS1, not the Dreamcast, or even the PS2 for that matter. However, there are also the handheld games. Spider-Man for the Game Boy Color, Spider-Man 2 for the Game Boy Color, which is different from the Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 1. Well, technically they're both different because these are 2D platformer games, instead of the 3D action games on console. And then finally, on the Game Boy Advance, another Spider-Man handheld sequel, which is a 2D platformer but with pre-rendered 3D graphics. And the one that I actually do remember playing once, and that's really the end of the what I think is the Neversoft Spider-Man universe, ultimately to be replaced by Sam Raimi movie tie-in games. Okay, that's it. Goodbye.